She said, "You'll never find someone like me," as I played her secret videos on the big screen. For a second I didn't even process the words, just the sound of her voice cracking over the speakers, layered on top of her own moans coming out of the TV. My hand was still on the remote. My thumb hovered over the pause button while 30-something people in our living room went dead quiet. The video kept playing her body on the screen, half covered by our sheets, her laugh unmistakable even with the shaky phone camera. Next to me someone's glass clinked softly against the coffee table. On the couch, my sister's mouth hung open. Across the room, her best friend had one hand over her face, peeking through her fingers like it was a horror movie. "Dan, turn it off," Lena screamed, lunging for the remote. She was close enough that I felt her nails scrape my wrist. Her face was blotchy, eyes wild, the party lipstick she'd carefully applied an hour ago smudged at the corners. She'd already tried once to yank the HDMI cable out of the TV. My brother had stepped between her and the stand, more out of shock than intention. "You'll never find someone like me," she spat again, louder, like it was a curse and a promise at the same time. "You think this makes you any better? You think—" Her words got drowned out by her own recorded voice on the screen, saying a different man's name in a way she'd never said mine. It was a Saturday night when I finally stopped gaslighting myself and decided to put everything in the open. I'm 34M, she's 32F. We'd been together 9 years, married for 4, and in the months leading up to that moment I'd started to feel like I was losing my mind in slow motion. I'm not really a public revenge kind of guy. I hate drama, confrontation, all of it. I'm the one who apologizes when someone bumps into me at the shops. So before you assume I'm some cartoon villain who set up a public humiliation for fun, I need you to understand how many times I tried to play nice, how many chances I gave, how much she'd already burned down before I ever hit play on that TV. Lena and I met at a trivia night in a crappy pub with sticky floors and too loud music. She was on the opposing team, shouting out answers over everyone, laughing in this big, unself-conscious way that made half the room turn their heads. I was the quiet guy who knew all the obscure science questions and none of the pop culture ones. At some point we both buzzed in with the same answer, David Tennant, to some Doctor Who question, and she pointed at me across the tables and yelled, "You, nerd guy, you're on our team next week." She never asked if I wanted to be. That was very Lena, I'd learn. She swept people into her orbit like it was inevitable. She was magnetic. She'd lean over the table, eyes bright, talking with her hands. She made friends with bartenders in 10 minutes. Our first real conversation was in the parking lot after trivia. Everyone else had trickled off, and we were still arguing about whether Pluto should count as a planet. "It's been demoted," I said. "It's still out there," she said, kicking a pebble. "Just because people reclassified it doesn't mean it stopped being what it is. Labels are fake." "Tell that to my manager," I joked. She snorted. "What do you do?" "Project management," I said. "I turn vague ideas into spreadsheets and Gantt charts." "Hot," she deadpanned, then grinned. "I work in content, which is a fancy way of saying I write things people don't read." It was easy with her, everyone said it. "You guys just click. You're so good together." She pulled me out of my shell, I grounded her. I'd remind her to pay bills, she'd drag me to random street festivals. When we moved in together after 3 years, it felt like the natural next step, not some huge leap. We signed the lease on a 2-bedroom apartment with terrible vertical blinds and a view of the car park, and she stood in the empty living room, hands on her hips, and said, "We're going to make this place ridiculous." We were Lena and Dan, the couple friends went to for double dates and game nights. We had inside jokes, rituals, matching mugs that said boss and real boss. Our fights, when they happened, were loud but quick. Early on, especially, they always ended the same way. Dramatic apology, make-up sex, some variation of "we'll be better at communicating." The first time she said, "You'll never find someone like me," we were standing in the kitchen in our socks, arguing about something stupid. I think I'd forgotten to text that I was running late, she'd cooked, and everything was cold by the time I got home. The argument escalated in that stupid, pointless way where it stops being about the thing and starts being about everything. "You're always like this," she said, slamming a drawer. "Half here, half checked out. Sometimes I think if I left you'd only notice because the Wi-Fi name changed." "That's not fair," I said, strung. "You know how work is right now. I'm doing my best." "Your best is this," she said, waving a hand vaguely at me. "You're so predictable, Dan. You come home, you check your emails, you sit on the couch, you ask what's for dinner. You never plan anything anymore, you never surprise me." I pointed at the fridge where the tickets for a weekend away I'd booked were held up by a magnet. "I literally surprised you last week." She rolled her eyes, once in 9 months. I felt my jaw clench. "I'm sorry I'm not some chaos goblin who keeps you constantly on your toes," I said. Maybe you should have dated someone else if you wanted that. She stepped closer then, eyes flashing, and poked me in the chest. I did date other people, she said. You knew that when you met me, I chose you, so maybe appreciate that because you'll never find someone like me. She said it like it was a fact, not a threat exactly, but a statement of her own perceived value. I remember feeling both annoyed and weirdly grateful in that moment. Like, yeah, she was right, she was one of a kind and I was lucky. We made up, we went away that weekend. She posted photos of us on a beach with captions about my person. The thing about phrases like that, though, you'll never find someone like me, is that they lodge somewhere in your brain. At the time it was almost a joke. Later, it would feel like foreshadowing. Things really started shifting about a year and a half ago when she got a promotion. She'd been a content writer at a mid-sized agency, then jumped to a bigger, shinier firm as a senior creative strategist. Suddenly she was working with higher-profile clients, going to brand launches in fancy bars, posting selfies from neon-lit offices. I was proud of her. I said it a lot. I meant it. Her hours changed. Late nights weren't occasional anymore, they were expected. We've got a pitch, she'd say, shrugging into a blazer at 7 a.m, don't wait up. She came home buzzing sometimes, talking a mile a minute about the deck and the concept and storytelling funnels. Other times she came home hollowed out, collapsing on the couch with a glass of wine, scrolling her phone in silence. Around the same time, she started going to the gym near her office. Everyone at work is on this fitness kick, she said. It'll help my back, I sit all day. No arguments from me, I said. My idea of exercise was walking up the escalator instead of standing, but I admired people who could voluntarily deadlift their own body weight. That's when I first heard the name, Corey. Corey is a beast, she'd say, laughing. He nearly killed us in class today. I think my soul left my body on those last burpees. Corey says I'm not allowed to skip leg day anymore. Corey made this playlist that somehow knows when I want to die. I pictured some tattooed personal trainer who lived on protein shakes and motivational quotes. She showed me an Insta story once, him demoing an exercise, an Australian flag tattoo peeking out from under his sleeve, her laughing in the background. That's him, she said. He's like, aggressively positive. I didn't feel threatened. Why would I? He was her trainer. There's a socially accepted category for that. We joked about Corey the gym cult leader. Slowly the mentions shifted. It's so easy to talk to Corey, she said one night, scrolling through her phone on the couch. He's actually really switched on, not just muscles. He said something today that just got me, about not dimming yourself. I raised an eyebrow, a philosopher in a stringer. She rolled her eyes, don't be condescending. I wasn't really. I was trying to make light conversation, but there was this new edge to her defensiveness that I didn't quite know what to do with. Then came the phone stuff. We'd never been the share every password couple, but we'd always been casual with our phones. If hers buzzed while her hands were full, she'd ask me to check it. If mine was closer, she'd type my PIN in without asking. There was no big trust ceremony, it just happened. So I noticed when it stopped. Her phone went from living face up on the coffee table to being screen down. Notifications stopped popping up with previews, they just said message. She'd tilt the screen away when I walked past, this tiny, unconscious movement. New security protocol. I joked one night when she flipped it over as I sat beside her. Just trying to be more present, she said, less doom scrolling. I wanted to believe that, I really did. A part of me also noticed that less doom scrolling still looked like a lot of thumb scrolling. It just happened with her pressed into the corner of the couch, screen turned away. I told myself I was paranoid. My mum went through my dad's phone when I was a teenager and found explicit messages with some woman he worked with. The fights that followed were nuclear, scorched earth. Divorce lawyers, the whole deal. I'd sworn to myself I'd never be like him, snooping through someone's phone. Lena knew that. I'd told her that story early on, one of those late night, "This is why I am the way I am" confessions. So every time my stomach clenched seeing her grin at her screen, I reminded myself, privacy isn't proof of cheating. People are allowed to have conversations that aren't for you. Don't be your dad. The first real crack came from somewhere incredibly stupid, an Apple update. We had an old iPad we used mostly in the kitchen for recipes and streaming shows while cooking. It was originally hers, synced to her Apple ID, then we kind of co-opted it into a communal device. I didn't think about what that meant in terms of photo syncing, messages, all of that. One Sunday afternoon, she was out shopping with the girls. I was home, elbows deep in bolognese prep, iPad propped up against the bread box, some cooking YouTuber showing me how to properly brown mince. A notification popped up. iCloud storage full, photos cannot be backed up. I tapped it without thinking, more annoyed at the box covering my video than anything. It opened the Photos app. I saw our shared albums, holidays, family events, and then a folder I'd never noticed before, hidden. Look, I know how that sounds. I know you're already rolling your eyes thinking, here we go. I swear to you, I stared at that little folder icon for a good 30 seconds arguing with myself. On one side, it's her account, her photos, you wouldn't want her opening your, on the other, hidden. If there was innocent stuff in there, why was it hidden? Also, technically, this was the communal iPad. Curiosity won, or self-preservation, or both. I tapped. There were only 8 videos. The thumbnails were innocuous, blurred, dimly lit shots of our bedroom, hotel-looking headboards, glimpses of skin. My heart started hammering. We never taken videos like that, not really our thing beyond a couple of silly boomerangs on holidays. I clicked the first one. The sound hit me before the visuals registered. Her voice, breathier, higher, the camera shook like it was being held above them. The view steadied and I saw the back of a man's shoulders, his body between her legs, her hands clutching at his shoulder blades. Half her face was visible over his shoulder, head tipped back, eyes closed. Our bedroom. I recognized the cheap IKEA lamp in the corner, the framed print we picked together. Corey, she gasped on the video, so clear it felt like she was in the room with me. I hit pause so fast I fumbled the edge of the iPad and nearly dropped it into the source. My heart was in my throat, my hands shook. I put the tablet down on the counter and stepped back like it was a snake. I wanted it to be some weird porn clip, not her. I wanted it to be some kind of deepfake gone wrong, but it was her. I could see the tattoo on her left hip, the one I'd kissed 1,000 times. I could see our sheets, the exact pattern of creases. Against my better judgment, I played the next video. Different angle, different day, her hair was tied up in a ponytail, our sheets were a different color. The same man, more of his face this time. It was him, the same guy from her gym stories. Everything narrowed. The kitchen, the smell of onions, the bubbling pot, the stupid YouTube video still yammering away in the background, all of it faded. There was just that little screen and the sound of my own breathing. I don't know how long I stood there. Eventually the sauce started sticking to the pot and the smell of it burning snapped me out of it. I turned the stove off, opened a window, went to the sink and threw up. After that there's a stretch of time that's just blank. I know I sat on the floor at some point, back against the cupboard, staring at the iPad on the bench. I know the cat came in and head-butted my leg, and I petted her automatically. I know I kept thinking, okay. Like if I said it enough, I'd actually feel okay. When my brain started working again, it went into logistics mode. Download, backup, proof. I hated myself even as I did it, but some grim part of me knew I needed more than a blurred memory and a sick feeling in my stomach if I ever ended up in a he said, she said situation. I plugged the iPad into my laptop, imported the videos, copied them onto an external drive. My hands were still shaking. I didn't watch them all. 3 was enough. 3 different days, 3 different angles, hotel room in one, our bed in the others. Her voice saying his name, his voice saying hers. The way she laughed in between, a sound I'd thought was mine. I sat at our dining table with that drive in front of me and realized I was at a fork in the road. Option A, confront her quietly, just us, lay it out, ask the questions, see if there was something salvageable. Option B, lawyer, lock down finances, nuke it from orbit. Option C, denial, delete, pretend I'd never seen it. We all make mistakes in our heads kind of thing. I wish I could say I made a clean decision that day. I didn't. I did what I tend to do with big emotions. I waited. I wanted to give her a chance to tell me the truth without knowing what I knew. When she came home that night, she was flushed and chatty, shopping bags cutting into her wrists. You won't believe the line at Zara, she said, kicking off her shoes. Are you okay? You look weird. We need to talk, I said, cliché and all. Her face changed, slightly, a tiny tightening around the mouth. That's a scary sentence, she said, setting the bags down. I've been worried, I started. About us, about how distant you've been. The gym, the late nights, the phone. I feel like I'm losing you. Her shoulders dropped, she exhaled. Is this about Corey? She asked. The way she said his name so easily twisted something in me. Partly, I said. I feel like you talk more to him than to me now. He's my trainer, she said slowly, as if explaining gravity. He's part of my job, kind of. It's not that serious. Do you have feelings for him? I asked, because apparently I hate myself. She stared at me for a second, then laughed. Oh my God, Dan, she said, you're jealous. Answer the question, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She rolled her eyes. Of course I don't have feelings for him, she said. He's a kid. He's like 27. He flirts with everyone. It's his job. It's harmless. Do I like the attention? Sure, I'm not dead, but I come home to you. Doesn't that count for anything? I felt like someone had unscrewed my chest plate. If it's just attention, I said carefully, why do you hide your messages? Why the secrecy? I'm not hiding anything, she snapped. And I'm allowed to have private conversations that aren't for you. You're allowed to talk to your colleagues too without me reading every email. That's not the same and you know it, I said. She crossed her arms. There it is, she said. I was wondering when you'd become one of those guys, the phone police. My ex was like this. Constantly suspicious, constantly projecting. You're better than that, or at least I thought you were. That hit all my old triggers dead on. My dad's paranoia, the fights, the accusations, the part of me that prided itself on being the stable one recoiled. I'm not trying to control you, I said quietly. I'm trying to tell you I feel disrespected. You've been spending all this time and energy on another man, and I feel like a roommate. If I made you feel that way, I'm sorry, she said, but it had that tone of sorry you're upset, not sorry I did something wrong. I've just been busy, stressed. I feel like you don't even see how hard I'm working. We went in circles. Every time I tried to steer toward, what are you actually doing with him? She pivoted to, you don't appreciate me, or you're being paranoid. I kept thinking of those videos. Burning a hole in my laptop, and wondering if I should pull the nuclear evidence out. But some stubborn part of me wanted to see if she'd tell the truth without being cornered. She didn't. That night when she went to shower, I sat on the bed and stared at her phone sitting on the dresser, screen black. I could have picked it up. I didn't. I'd already seen enough. Maury snooping wouldn't make me feel less insane. Over the next week, I noticed more weirdness now that my blinders were off. She suddenly had girls' nights that never included any of the girls I knew. She came home from the gym with her hair washed even on non-wash nights. She'd come out of the bathroom with that post-sex glow, lips swollen, pupils blown, and when I'd reach for her she'd flinch like a cat touched the wrong. Wait. I started sleeping badly. Every morning my eyes felt gritty, my brain foggy. At work I'd stare at emails without really reading them. My boss asked if everything was all right at home and I heard myself say, yeah, just tired, like a recording. Finally, I did what I probably should have done from the start. I called a lawyer, not to file, just to know my options. Sitting in that bland office with its glass water jug and neatly stacked magazines, I felt like I was betraying her even as I described the videos. The lawyer, older guy calm, used to this, nodded and took notes. Do you want to stay married? He asked. I don't know, I said. Then your job right now is to gather information, he said, and to protect yourself, financially, emotionally, all of it. He talked me through accounts, assets, what counts as marital property. He told me gently but firmly to make copies of everything, the videos, bank statements, anything that showed where she'd been and with whom. In the course of that, I found even more. Hotel charges on days she was supposedly at late-night strategy sessions. Uber receipts to addresses I didn't recognize. A gym payment to a private session line item. It felt like scraping at a mold patch and finding rot all through the wall. Somewhere in there I reached a breaking point. Not in the rage sense, more like a quiet click. She wasn't going to be honest with me. She was going to keep lying as long as it benefited her. I could either keep playing this slow burn game of maybe she'll admit it eventually, or I could make it impossible to pretend. The idea of the party came to me in pieces. We had our anniversary coming up, 4 years married. There'd been vague talk of doing something with family and friends. At some point she'd said, we should have everyone over, we never host anymore, show off our new shelves. She loved hosting, loved being center stage. I started saying yes to that idea. Yeah, I said one night over dinner, trying to keep my voice neutral. Let's have people over, do the whole thing. Our place hasn't had a proper house full of people in ages. Her eyes lit up. Really, she said. You're not going to do the thing where you hide in the kitchen. I'll be very present, I said, promise. She threw herself into planning. Group chat invitations went out. She made a playlist, planned snacks, argued with herself over whether we needed fairy lights. Her mum offered to bring a cake. My sister offered to bring her new boyfriend. In the middle of all this, I made a phone call I never, ever thought I'd make. I tracked down Corey's partner. I knew he had one because I'd seen her tagged in one of his old posts, leg day with the missus or something. I dug, found her profile, found her business page, found her email. Writing that email felt like stepping off a cliff. Hi, I typed. You don't know me, but I think we might need to talk about our partners. I told her everything, not in lurid detail, just the facts. My wife, your boyfriend, videos, dates. I attached one screenshot, the least graphic frame that still showed their faces clearly. My hands shook so badly I had to retype my password 3 times before hitting send. She didn't reply immediately. An hour later, my phone rang from a private number. "Is this Dan?" a woman's voice asked. Her voice sounded like someone trying very hard to sound calm. "Yeah," I said, "is this?" "This is Mia," she said, "Corey's partner. I got your email." We compared notes. She cried. I apologized even though none of it was on me. She told me she'd suspected something for months, but every time she brought it up, he'd made her feel crazy. She asked if I was sure. I told her about the videos. There was a long silence. "I want to see," she said finally. "Are you sure?" I asked. "They're rough, emotionally." "I don't want to take his word or yours," she said. "I need to see." I sent her stills. She thanked me. She didn't say what she was planning. I didn't ask. So there we were, two strangers linked by the same betrayal, orbiting around this upcoming night like it was a date on a calendar for surgery. Something has to be cut out. You don't know how much collateral damage there'll be. The day of the party, I woke up to Lena humming in the kitchen. She was already chopping veggies, music playing on the little speaker. She was wearing my old band t-shirt and messy bun, looking more like the version of her I'd fallen for. It hurt. "Happy almost anniversary," she said, kissing my cheek. "Tonight is going to be fun. You're not allowed to get mysteriously tired at 10. "I'll make it to midnight," I said, "at least." We spent the day prepping. I strung up the fairy lights she'd insisted on. She arranged charcuterie like it was performance art. Every normal, domestic thing we did felt like walking through a set that was about to explode. In the afternoon, while she was out picking up extra ice, I set up the tech. External drive into my laptop, HDMI into the TV. I made a folder that said anniversary slideshow and put the videos in there, interspersed with actual photos of us. I told myself I was doing it to soften the blow for our families, that seeing our history alongside her choices would make it clearer. If I'm honest, part of me also wanted her to see the contrast. The cute apartment photos, the wedding shots, the holidays, and then that. People started arriving around 7. My brother and his wife with a bottle of wine and a dubious dip. Her parents with a cake shaped like a heart. Our friends filtering in, bringing beer and jokes and stories from traffic. The apartment filled up with overlapping conversations, the clink of glasses, the smell of food. Lena was in her element. She floated from group to group, topping up drinks, laughing, touching arms. She kissed me in front of everyone, quick and performative. "Look at my handsome husband," she said, ruffling my hair. At some point, Mia arrived. I recognized her from her profile picture, small in person, dark hair, eyes that looked older than her face. She came with a friend. Lena greeted them like any other guests, eyes sliding right over Mia without recognition. Of course, gym partners are probably a blur to her. To me, she might as well have had a neon sign over her head. We'd agreed beforehand no scene from her. No confronting him at the gym, no yelling in the street. She wanted to see, then decide. She caught my eye across the room and gave the tiniest nod. My heart hammered against my ribs like it was trying to escape. Eventually, people started asking about the slideshow, because Lena had been hyping it. "Dan's making something cute. He's so good with that stuff," she told everyone. "You ready?" she said, coming up behind me, looping her arms around my waist. She smelled like her fancy perfume, the one I'd bought her for our last anniversary. "We can do speeches and then your thing." "Yeah," I said, my mouth was dry. "Let's do it." We gathered everyone in the living room. The fairy lights threw soft, warm pools on the walls. People sat on the couch, the floor leaned against the doorway. Lena stood at the front, glass in hand, and made a toast about 4 years of putting up with Dan's snoring and choosing each other even when it's hard. I watched her mouth form the words and felt like I was watching a stranger perform my wife. Then it was my turn. I took a breath, feeling 30 pairs of eyes on me. "Thanks for being here," I said, voice sounding oddly steady in my own ears. "We don't throw parties much anymore, so this is special. I put together something to show you all, a little journey of our time together. Thought we could watch it." Lena beamed at me, eyes shining. If she suspected anything, she hid it well. I walked over to the TV, plugged in the HDMI, selected the anniversary slideshow folder. For a second, my finger hovered over the trackpad. Once I clicked, there was no going back. I clicked. The first few images were exactly what everyone expected. Us at the beach, sunburnt and smiling. Our wedding day, her in her dress, me in my too-tight suit. The first apartment, the ugly carpets, people awed. Someone whistled at the wedding photo. Lena glanced at me, touched her chest, mouthed, "Oh my God," like she was touched. Then the first video started. It didn't cut straight to sex. It opened with a shot of our bedroom from the doorway, her laughing as she stumbled backward onto the bed, Corey's voice off screen saying, "Fuck your trouble." Her face came into focus, hair messy. eyes glittering in that particular way I knew meant wine plus adrenaline. At first, people thought it was some kind of prank. There was a ripple of uneasy laughter. Lena's brow furrowed. She looked at the screen, then at me, confusion, then dawning horror. "Turn it off," she said sharply. No one moved, the video kept going. Corey stepped into frame, his face fully visible. There was no way to pretend it was anyone else. Someone in the back gasped loud. Mia made a small noise like a wounded animal. "Dan," Lena said, voice rising, "turn it off, this isn't funny." Her recorded self on the screen moaned. My finger tightened on the remote, but I didn't press. This was the moment I'd decided on, for better or worse. The moment where the two realities, the one she performed for everyone and the one she'd hidden, collided. "You'll never find someone like me," she shouted then, stepping toward me, hand outstretched for the remote like she was reaching for a gun. "Stop this, right now." I looked at her, then at the TV, then back. I paused the video. Her frozen face on the screen, mouth open, hair falling over her cheek. The room was so quiet I could hear the fridge humming. "You're right," I said, my voice shaking but audible. "I'll never find someone like you, that's the whole point." For a second, no one said anything. Then everything happened at once. Her mum started crying. My brother swore under his breath. Someone's drink hit the floor and shattered. Mia pushed past people to stand closer to the screen, staring like she needed to make absolutely sure. "Is that Corey?" Lena's friend Jess whispered. Lena's eyes were huge, pupils blown. "Okay," she said, voice wobbling between anger and panic. "Okay, yes, I fucked up. We can talk about this later. Privately, turn it off, Dan." "Why privately?" I asked, surprising myself. I wasn't yelling, I wasn't throwing things, I was just tired. "You didn't do it privately, you did it in our bed, in hotels with our joint card, on your phone on an account we share. You lied to my face in this room at this table. You made me think I was crazy. So no, we're not doing this in the dark anymore. Everyone, can you just..." She turned to the room, tears streaming now. "Can you all give us a minute, please?" "No," Mia said. Her voice was low but carried. "We are staying." Lena looked at her properly for the first time, really saw her. I watched the recognition hit, the gym selfies, the tag on Corey's posts. "Oh my God," Lena whispered. "Hi," Mia said, eyes glittering. "I'm the person he goes home to." The room went even quieter, somehow. "I didn't know," Lena stammered. "He said you were." "Crazy," Mia supplied. "Controlling, jealous. Yeah, he said that, while he was fucking my partner in his bed and yours." Lena's shoulders shook. "Mia, I'm..." "Don't," Mia snapped. "Don't you dare say you're sorry to me right now. Save that for him, if you ever see him again." Lena turned back to me, eyes pleading. "Dan, please," she said. This is so humiliating. I get it. You're hurt. You have every right to be. I messed up. Badly, I know that. But can we not do this like some reality show?" "You had months," I said. "Months where you could have told me the truth. When I asked you directly, you told me I was jealous, controlling, paranoid. You told me I'd never find someone like you, like that was a favor you were doing me. Maybe I needed an audience to remember I didn't imagine any of it." Her dad cleared his throat. "Son," he started, voice shaking. This is a lot. Maybe put it away. We can all talk calmly." Calmly, the word made something in me want to laugh. "I am calm," I said, and it was true in a way. The tornado had already ripped through. This was the quiet after. "Lena, did you ever plan on telling me? Before you deleted the videos and pretended none of it happened? Before you kept sleeping in my bed, kissing me with the same mouth you..." I swallowed the rest of that sentence, conscious of her parents, of my niece sitting on the floor with wide eyes. "Did you ever?" She didn't answer. That was answer enough. Someone, I think it was Jess, murmured, "You should turn the video off, man. It's a lot." They were right. Whatever anger I'd had when I planned this, seeing everyone else in the crossfire like this made my stomach twist. This wasn't just about exposing her. It was also about hurting myself again and them. I hit stop. The screen went black, then back to the TV's home menu. The room exhaled. "I'm not going to play the rest," I said quietly. "I've seen enough. Mia's seen enough. If anyone else still thinks I'm overreacting..." I gestured toward them. No one met my eyes. Lena wiped at her cheeks with shaking hands. "We can fix this," she said, voice tiny. "We've been together 9 years, Dan. You can't just throw that away because of..." "Because of what?" I said. "Because of some videos. Some minor, oopsie-daisy, you tripped and fell on him mistake. That's what this is to you." She winced. "No, I don't. I know it's more than that. I know I hurt you. I've been so unhappy, Dan. I felt like you didn't see me anymore. He made me feel alive. Wanted, I know that's not an excuse, but can't we at least try, just us, without turning it into a circus? I thought of the months of lies, the gaslighting, the way she'd made me feel like my gut was betraying me, the lawyer, the emails, the nights she'd come home smelling vaguely of his cologne and told me I was imagining things. It's already a circus, I said. You were just the only one enjoying the show. Her lower lip trembled. Please, she whispered. You'll never find someone like me. I know, I said. I'm counting on it. I took a folded envelope out of my back pocket and put it on the coffee table. It felt theatrical in a way that, if you described it to me a year ago, I would have cringed at, but there we were. What's that? She asked, voice small. Separation papers, I said. Drafted, not filed yet. I was going to give them to you privately and ask if you wanted to talk, to figure out if there was anything to salvage. After tonight, I don't think there is, but I'm not filing anything without you seeing it first. I'm not you. Her eyes widened. You planned this, she said, like the possibility had only just clicked. All of it, the party, the video, inviting. She flicked her gaze at Mia, you wanted to humiliate me. I wanted the truth, I said. You gave me months of performance. I thought maybe this would cut through the bullshit. Maybe that's cruel. Maybe I'll hate myself for it later. But at least now, when you tell people we just grew apart, or whatever line you come up with, there'll be 30 people who know that's not what happened. Her parents looked like they'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. My own family looked uncomfortable, torn between hugging me and getting the hell out. I think we should go, my sister murmured to her boyfriend. Then louder to me, Dan, do you want to come with us? Yeah man, you don't have to stay here, my brother added. I suddenly felt bone-deep exhausted. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving behind a hollow ache. I'm going to pack a bag, I said. I turned to Lena. I'll stay at Tom's for a bit. You can have the place until we figure out the logistics. I'll get the cat tomorrow. Her eyes filled again. So that's it, she said. You're just walking out. I'm walking out of something you already left, I said. You just forgot to take your body with you. I went to our bedroom, the one from the videos, and pulled out a duffel. My hands moved on autopilot. Jeans, underwear, a couple of shirts, my toothbrush. Standing in front of the wardrobe, I had this weird moment of grief looking at our clothes hanging side by side, her dresses squashed against my shirts. I grabbed a hoodie and zipped the bag. When I went back out, the living room was already half emptied of guests. People had done that awkward trickle-out thing, murmuring apologies and call me if you need anything as they left. Most couldn't meet my eyes. Shame by association, maybe, or discomfort at being forced to witness the messy parts. Mia was still there, standing near the door, arms wrapped around herself. She caught my eye. I'm so sorry, she said quietly, for all of this, for what it cost you to show me. It cost both of us, I said. Good luck, I added and meant it. You too, she said. Lena stood by the coffee table, envelope in hand, like it weighed 100 kilos. Her cheeks were streaked with mascara, hair a mess. She looked small in a way I'd never seen her. Dan, she said as I passed. Please, can we talk, just us, tomorrow, next week, anytime, I'll do anything. Therapy, honesty, whatever you want. Don't throw away almost a decade because I fucked up. You didn't just fuck up, I said, tired to my bones. You made a series of choices, over and over, knowing exactly what you were risking. You gambled with us and assumed you'd never get caught. I'm just cashing in the chips. She swallowed. I still love you, she whispered. I believe that, I said. I loved you too. And maybe we'll both love other people better because of how badly we loved each other wrong at the end. Right now, though, I need distance more than I need declarations. I left. That night, sitting on my friend Tom's lumpy couch, bag at my feet, the whole thing hit me properly. The adrenaline had kept me upright. Now the crash came. I shook. I cried in that ugly, snotty way I wouldn't let myself in front of anyone earlier. Tom sat nearby, awkward but solid, passing me tissues, occasionally muttering, "Jesus, man," like a mantra. Do you regret doing it like that? He asked at one point. I thought about it, the horror on her mum's face, my niece's big eyes, the sound of a glass breaking. I regret that they had to see it, I said. I don't regret letting her on what she did, in front of the people she lies best to. Does that make sense? Yeah, he said, it does. The fallout in the weeks after was messy. There's no neat way to unmerge two lives, especially when everyone's seen the tear. Her parents called me separately to apologize for her. I told them they didn't need to. My mum called to say she was proud of me for not screaming or hitting anyone, which was a very weird metric of pride, but also, considering my dad's history, I got it. Lena texted a lot at first, long, emotional paragraphs about how sorry she was, how she was in therapy now, how she'd blocked Corey, how she was working on herself. She wrote about childhood wounds, about feeling not enough, about addiction to external validation. Some of it made me angry. Some of it made me ache, because underneath the justifications I could see the girl in the pub parking lot arguing about Pluto, the woman crying over a charity ad, the person I'd shared 1,000 ordinary Tuesday nights with. I didn't reply to most of it. When I did, I kept it short. I hope therapy helps. I'll pick up the rest of my stuff Saturday. Please leave the apartment when I come by. We're about 8 months out now. The divorce is in motion. We sold the apartment. I moved into a smaller place closer to work. She moved in with a friend on the other side of town. People always ask, would you do it the same way again? About big dramatic choices. I've thought about that a lot. The honest answer is, I don't know. There are nights where I lie awake and replay the look on her mum's face and think, I went too far. I dragged other people into something that should have been between us. There are other nights I remember the weeks of being lied to, the way she looked me dead in the eye and told me I was jealous for noticing patterns, and I think, if I hadn't made it public, she would have rewritten the story until I started to doubt my own memory. The one thing I don't regret is this. I stopped making excuses for someone who was perfectly capable of making better choices and chose not to. I stopped prioritizing her comfort over my sanity. I stopped being more worried about being dramatic than I was about being disrespected. When she said, "You'll never find someone like me," in front of that TV, she meant it like a warning, like I was losing something irreplaceable. And in a way, she was right. I probably won't ever find someone exactly like her again. Someone who can light up a room and also burn it down without seeing the difference. Someone who can be so loving in one season and so selfish in another. What I hope eventually is that I find someone who doesn't say that like a threat, but like a quiet fact. We're all unique, but not in a way that makes us gods in each other's lives. Someone who knows that "you'll never find someone like me" is less important than "you'll never have to see secret videos of me with someone else on a hidden folder." If there's a point to this whole wall of text, I guess it's this. If your gut is screaming at you, listen. If you find concrete evidence that your reality isn't the one your partner is selling you, don't let them make you feel crazy for seeing what's right there. You don't have to throw a party and hit play on a big screen. In fact, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that route unless you're very, very sure. But you also don't have to swallow it in silence to keep the peace. You deserve more than secret videos hidden in a shared cloud account, and a partner who thinks your worst fear is a good place to stash their fun. And if someone looks you in the eye and says, "You'll never find someone like me," remember, that might be the best argument for leaving, not staying.